Our Allnutt enterprise started in 1886 as T.G. Macy, undertaker. But before T.G. Macy started the mortuary in 1886, you go back many generations to 10 generations to Thomas Macy was my great-grandfather. He came west to Colorado. He ended up being in Greeley and tried farming. He worked at the cemetery as just caretaker, digging graves, and had become the county coroner in 1884. And at that time, why he saw families having a death in the family, and people just kind of stepped in to help, and he said, well, why don't I do this for money, for a job? So he established the mortuary in 1886. He started to turn of the century and bring in my grandfather, whose name was Fred Allnutt. He came from England, where he was born near London in 1873. And he came to the United States because of breathing problems with so much smog and heavy smoke in the London area. Why he heard that Colorado was a good place to get fresh air. And he went to the State Normal School, which is today University of Northern Colorado. And at the same time, he had a job working part-time in Greeley, taking care of Thomas Macy's horses at the Macy Undertaking Company. He became a partner in the business in 1920, about the time that they built a large two-story structure for the Macy Undertaking Company, commonly called Macy's at that time, just Macy's. My father had been born in that house in 1903. And in 1920, they built a brick mortuary that we operate from today. I came home from the service, got out, got married, and my dad needed a little help while my brother was gone to another schooling. And so I worked there for a month and just continued on from there. And Dee and I started a family a couple years later. 3 years later, my son Rick was born, who now is president of Allnutt Funeral Service and the organization that we are working with today.
Working with my dad, it's been fun. It's been enjoyable to watch his interaction with families within the community. It's a different kind of feeling when you're working a funeral with your dad by your side.
One of the things that I personally had a hand in, and maybe originally for the whole area I know, and maybe perhaps Colorado, began providing physical facilities for receptions following funeral service. For its the best therapy of healing is to get people together over a cup of coffee, over a sandwich. And we provided those facilities at our firm in Greeley, and then as we expanded into Fort Collins, Loveland, we created those same physical facilities for receptions. And I think without a doubt, most funeral service people in northern Colorado, the state of Colorado, are providing that now. I think we did that first. I'm proud of that. Rick has taken a real interest in providing service, being successful at it, and then looking and saying, you know, there's other places that we can create and pass on our talents. And that was what happened when we was able to expand into northern Colorado. and now he has moved out of northern Colorado into other distant points in Nebraska and western Colorado.
When I first came on board, we were at 2 locations, 3, then 4 and 5, and I've been up to as many as 9 different locations within our company and organization. And that's my passion, is to grow the business, but at the same time keeping the values and the core values and beliefs of the company, and just expanding that from one location to other communities, to help other families the same way we would with our one location in Greeley.
Whether it's our firm or another firm in Greeley who is providing very good service to their families. We're competitors, but we're friends with the other funeral home operations. But you have that contact with them for generations. You buried my grandfather, and then you buried my father, and then you buried my little brother. You get into you are part of their family, or you hope you are, because that gives you satisfaction that you are doing good for your brotherhood, your community, your God, your country.
That's the feeling that you get in your heart, in your head, when you see a funeral service performed to perfection. Every player within the ceremony doing their part to memorialize a special person, and you almost see the sigh or the sigh of relief from the family when things in the ceremony are over and the gathering begins, the sharing and the laughing and the hugging, and that's when you know that it came off just right. To me, a family business is just what it says. It's family. And the owners, of course, have families. The staff has families. But when you work together as closely as we do, with the same common goal of serving another family, you find that we all become one family as humans. And I think that caring bond that knits us all together, from the staff to the family that we're serving, I think it shows when it's owned and managed by a family. Today's families are looking for more personalized service, and with all the things that are available to us, a family-owned business with the vision of the leader to be progressive, you need to be on the cutting edge. And even though it's an age-old profession of funeral service, there is a cutting edge in funeral service, and we try to look to see where things are going to be in the future. Not where things are now, but where they're going to be and how we stay ahead of that curve. The cemetery piece has been very intriguing now that I have been in the business for 5 or 6 years, and that is that you're still caring for people. And what you see is, and they told me this before, is the funeral homes tend to care for families for a short period of time, maybe a week or so. And the cemetery family you care for forever, because you're guarding their grave. They come out to visit the grave on birthdays and holidays and anniversaries. So you tend to see people over and over again. You're not just done with them at the end of the funeral. You continue that caring for a long time, forever. It'll be interesting to watch as my sons come into the business, what their path might be, what their passion might be within the company. My hope for my sons as they enter into this career is that they gain knowledge about themselves and about their forefathers, and what this business meant to the generations in front of them, and that they would bring something different to the next generation of families that we serve.
I'm very excited to come into the business and be on the journey and see where this takes us. And I can't say for sure where it's going to be, but I know that all we're going is up. And I'm very excited to be there and witness that.
It's been very rewarding for me over the last 28 years, and it'll be exciting for me to watch them develop and grow into our family business in whichever course they might take.